The room presents itself clearly, as if nothing has happened here yet. Light settles in a way that suggests ordinary continuity. Surface details appear without drawing attention. Minor shifts register as part of a normal visual flow.
Time appears to pass without emphasis.
Nothing in the room suggests urgency or preparation.
The environment supports passive observation.
Visual clarity reduces the need for interpretation.
Objects appear positioned without intention.
The scene offers no suggestion of interruption.
Details register without forming narrative.
Nothing suggests that attention should increase. The environment feels neutral and complete.
Helpen. The space appears settled rather than active. There is no indication that anything has just occurred. The present moment appears intact. Awareness encounters no disruption. Nothing suggests urgency or delay. Everything functions within expected limits. The room neither invites nor resists attention.
This moment feels complete, without explanation. Expectation remains inactive. Nothing implies that something has just concluded. The pause feels ordinary, rather than meaningful. The scene gives no indication that the present has arrived late. The room still appears ordinary, though its behavior no longer perfectly matches expectation. Light begins settling into positions that feel subtly misplaced.
Cause and effect begin separating without creating disruption. Orientation shifts register without implying movement.
Shadow structure begins following unfamiliar internal logic. Light begins favoring a direction without a visible reason.
Reflections begin referencing positions that feel slightly misassigned. Distance stops functioning as a reliable visual guide.
Surface response duplicates without explanation.
Directional certainty weakens, while calm remains intact.
Light organizes itself into unfamiliar structure.
Object posture begins implying change without movement. Depth cues quietly exchange their roles. Expected gradients reverse without urgency.
Correspondence between form and outcome weakens.
Single inputs begin producing multiple visual outcomes.
Spatial logic bends without collapsing. Orientation shifts begin feeling selective rather than global.
Separation between object and surface begins eroding. Light starts referencing the object rather than its source.
Distance stops predicting clarity.
Hierarchies of attention quietly dissolve. Alignment errors accumulate without escalation. Causal direction becomes ambiguous. The room continues functioning while becoming harder to intuit. The room responds as if it is arriving a moment after itself. Visual effects continue after their cause feels complete. The room appears to hold more than one moment simultaneously.
Multiple time signals coexist without resolving into one present. Cause and effect disagree on when events occur.
Expectation arrives before observation can confirm it. Visual information begins repeating instead of refreshing.
The moment feels present without feeling current. The room begins carrying visual memory alongside perception.
More than one moment occupies the same visual space, consistent throughout. Effects no longer conclude when their causes end. Recognition arrives after perception, rather than alongside it.
Time indicators quietly disagree. The present starts feeling slightly retrospective.
Object and environment no longer feel simultaneous.
Change begins to feel buffered rather than immediate.
The scene gives the impression of having already occurred. Temporal reference points slide without direction.
Visual memory overlaps with current input. The scene feels slightly behind itself.
Completion no longer follows change immediately.
The present stretches without advancing.
The room behaves like a memory still forming. The scene appears to wait for itself.
Time no longer asserts a single position within the room.
The room presents a state that feels complete, without indicating how it arrived here. Visual order returns in a way that discourages further evaluation. Elements settle into relationships that no longer request attention.
Orientation stabilizes without referencing previous instability.
Balance returns quietly, without resolving what preceded it.
Light resumes behavior that aligns with expectation rather than explanation. Visual complexity reduces without indicating an ending.
The environment stabilizes into a readable condition. Orientation settles into a position that discourages reinterpretation.
Cause and effect appear to reconnect without commentary.
Spatial logic reasserts itself without acknowledging interruption.
Continuity replaces variation without announcement.
The room no longer implies progression.
Nothing within the frame suggests alteration.
The scene feels sufficient without asserting finality. Stability persists without indicating duration.
The present moment loses distinction from others.
Temporal markers lose relevance when repetition feels exact.
Recognition replaces curiosity.
Nothing appears unresolved.
The environment offers completion without explanation.
Nothing suggests a next moment. The scene feels complete in a way that implies recurrence.
Observation no longer produces discovery.
The room appears ready to be observed again.